Here I have been given an exercise, so I had created the classes as XA04. You can rename it by yourself as your wish, and then what you have to do is you have to create a method. So to create a method, you have to type these: public static void main, and within the brackets string, and then square brackets and args. And after closing that bracket, you have to reopen a curly bracket, and then you have to declare the variables, because you have to get three user inputs, so you have to declare the variables. So in here, remember that those three inputs should be integers, so that's why I put int there: int number 1, int number 2, and int number 3. I have got the I have declared the variables as num1, num2, and num3. And then we are going to get the input from the user. So for that, what we have to do is we have to create a scanner. So in here, in scanner class, the object is num. I have created an object called num, and then it is equal to new scanner, and then within the brackets we use system.in. Make sure that in system the S is capital, otherwise it will be created an error. And then don't forget to use a semicolon. And after that, we have to the system has to display the user what is the thing that user should type. So for that we use this one. So in here, system.out.print. In here I have to mention you that if you type print L, it means the number will be gone to the next number. I mean it enter the in here, if the it will be print, enter first number, and then number will be going to the next line. So I don't need to get that kind of output, so I need to get that user input in here. After entering the first number, I need to get in here, so that's why I use print. So I hope that you got it, the difference between print and print L. So I need to print what to type. So in the brackets I type the command here, enter the first number. So I ask the user to enter the first number, and then close the brackets and use the semicolon. And after that, here's the user's input type. So in here, this is the location. When you are typing the number, in the number will be going to number 1 will be going to number 1 location, and then it will be stored in scanner option, and then dot next int means that number is a integer, so we know that number 1 is an integer, so that's why we use next int. So if the number is a float, we have to use next float, right? You got it? And then we have to open a bracket and close a bracket and use a semicolon. And then what I did was I copied those twice and I edited the other methods as well. So I'm asking the user to enter the second number and third number as well. So for that I copied this twice and edited. I edited as enter second number, and then in here it will be second number will be stored. Go to this location and it will be stored in number scanner, and then the number two is an integer, so that's why I use the type. Number two's type is integer, so I typed next int for that, and then open and close bracket. And I did the same for the third number. In here I asked the user to input the third number, so I typed enter the third number, and then number 3 will be stored in scanner, and it will be scanner by object num, and then the number 3 is type is integer, so that's why I use next int again. So that's all. And then the scanning method, since the scanning method is closed, so I use num.close and open and close the brackets. And after that, here we go. We are going to use a condition for print the largest number first and then smallest number. So for that I use if number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 1 is greater than number 3, print number 1 as the largest number, right? So here's the method that you want to use. That here, that suppose that there's a number called 40 and number 2 is 30. Okay, well, I'll give an example. Here suppose that the number 1 is 30 and the number is 20. Number 2 is 20, and then number 1 again, number 1 is 30, right? And number 3 will be a new value. Suppose that number 3 will be 40, maybe. Okay. According to this input, number 1 is greater than number 2. Yes, so I put 1 for yes. And number 1 is greater than number 3. No, right? So I use 0. So 1 and 0 is 0. Okay. So here I have to go to the second option. Now, else if number 2, then I'm checking that number 2. Number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3, print number 2 as the largest number. So let's check this condition. That condition is false. So I'm going to the second option. So 20 is greater than number 1. I mean 3, 30? No, right? So it's 0. And then is number 2 is greater than number 3? No, right? That also 0. Okay. Okay, so this is also 0. And then else I have to go to the last option there. Then print number 3 is the largest number. Yes, it is the largest number. Yeah, in here I think that suppose that these are the number on we can see now. So in 40 is the largest number. We can see now. So that's why I hope that you got it right now. Okay, the condition. So first I checked number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 1 is greater than number 3, and then I checked the second number. Number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3, and or else I go to the third option, or else the number 3 is the largest number. So here are the conditions. You can check whether you have got or not, and after that I'm going to print the smallest number here. Okay, so for checking the check so for getting the conditions, what I have to do is here I created the conditions called, first I check the number 1 less than number 2, now less than, previously greater than, right? Number 1 is less than number 2 and number 1 is greater than number 3. Print number 1 is the smallest number. Okay, let's check according to the previous values. So yeah, number 1 is 30, number 2 is 20, and again number 1 is 30 and number 3 is 40, right? So let's check the conditions. Is number 3 is 30 is less than 20? No, so this is false. Is number 1 is greater than number 3? Is less than number 3, right? Is number 1, it means 30 less than number 40? Yes, right? It's yes, and then this condition is false because 0 and 1 means, you know the calculations, right? 0. And then else if number 2 is 20, then I'm checking the number 2 one. Number 2 less than number 3, print number 2 is the smallest number, right? Is 20 less than 40? Yeah, it's correct, and this is true, and it will be printed as the smallest number, or else number 3 is the smallest number. I hope that theory part you have got it. So yeah, and okay, so that's all, and let's run it. Okay, here I'm getting the first input first. Enter the first number. Okay, let's get 30, and second number is 40, and suppose that for third number is 50. So in here 50 is the largest number and 30 is the smallest number. So it's correct, right? We also can see that the 30 is the smallest and 50 is the largest. So I hope that you got it. You understood that lesson. So this is using by Java. Okay. So bye everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and thank you for listening.